practically born into controversy over content, characters, artwork, even the fans itself, this groundbreaking and innovative meld of gameplay and fantasy has withstood the test of time and legal battles. Originally published as a 3-booklet set in 1974, now almost 50 years, several video games, comic books, TV series, films, miniatures, books, and many more products later, the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop role-playing game from the minds of Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson has become an almost genericization for its genre. A game centered around a group of friends or players that form a party comprised of individual characters that each player is allowed to create for themselves, selecting specific specialties or skills that can be used throughout the campaign. Now, this campaign or game typically takes place in a group setting with all party members present and one dungeon master. The role of the dungeon master is multifaceted, from developing the very world and campaign that the party is adventuring into, setting and enforcing the rules of the game or campaign, even portraying the role of any characters beyond the party known as non-playable or NPC. The party must work together, combining character skills, problem solving, and decision making as they navigate this essentially open world RPG and face all that the DM has in store for them. Each campaign can last through several gaming sessions, resulting in predefined meetings between the groups of friends and players. Now, some saw controversy in this, thinking cult-like behavior. Now, if you ask me, it sounds like multiple opportunities for friends to bond over a harmless fantasy adventure, but what do I know? With what seems to be an even stronger growth of popularity and presence in pop culture, with strong references in major TV shows like The Big Bang Theory and Stranger Things, and perhaps attributable to a culture becoming more acceptable of fantasy, games, and role-playing. After all, the generations that grew up with the original version may now have children with interest in the game. This high level of popularity has created interest yet again from film studios, enough to develop the forthcoming title, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, a film starring major names like Michelle Rodriguez, Chris Pine, and Hugh Grant, set to release March 31st of this year. And with the new adventure film, it only seems right that it comes with a line of action figures, especially when you get Hasbro involved and anywhere near a license. Will they be any good? Will the film be any good? Both will be a roll of the dice, but we can at least get the answer for one riddle today. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects, and in this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Hasbro 6-inch scale Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves 4-character set. Hey everyone, welcome back. Here we have it, the 4 members of the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves party, at least that we know of, for the forthcoming movie. This is the release from Hasbro. Happy to have them to be able to take a look at them. And we have Forge, Holga, Edgin, and Simon. Now, which one do we start with? Let's go to the dice. The dice have chosen Simon and this accessory pouch, so let's see what's in it. Without wasting too much time, what do we have here? We have, looks like some sort of a scepter and, oh, a helmet. Look at that. He is ready for battle, and that's all we had in that little extra pouch. So we had figure and one accessory pouch. And let me go ahead and tell you, getting this set up, this guy does not want to stand up because of this cape that gets in the way. So as long as that is on, it is definitely pulling him backwards, and the flexibility is not quite fully there. So I'm going to move him to the side real quick so we can take a look at these accessories. The scepter that we have, hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about it in the movie. But there we go. Decent features to it, right? A little curve with that flexible plastic. I can't say that I'm really blown away so far by it. I appreciate the little blue jewels that we have here and the one in the middle. Oops, it'd be good if I held on to it. And, I mean, otherwise, there's not really anything amazing to it. There's a little bit of a green right there. Almost looks like it was accidental because it's just that one spot. But like I said, maybe we'll learn a little more. This silver wrapping on it, maybe like a grip. It is not very thick, and I can certainly see a lot of the brown cast plastic through it. So not really a home run on this piece here. I do appreciate the metal, the metallic look of the stone in the middle, though. And then the helmet, it is cast in this flexible gold-like plastic. It does have a certain sheen to it, like one would expect gold to have. The paint on it is a little bit nicer, but very poorly applied. I don't know if you can see this right here. You can see where it lines up over here. Whether that is correct or not, it definitely does not do it. It falls very short and very low over here, even getting a little paint on the edge of the helmet right there. So the detail of the sculpting is nice. The idea of it's very cool. It's a very Corinthian looking helmet, which I'm definitely a fan of. But the execution, the paint and everything, not so good. So, I mean, not really looking great for this figure so far. He does not want to stand up, and the accessories are not all that great. Now, I will say that the detail sculpted into, like, the fabric of this character it's very nice. I would not say that the likeness is very much like the actor, but, you know, maybe this is, it's like the Selfie series version of this actor is the best way that I can put it. And the Selfie series, from what I've seen, has not really been a home run. So, hey, you know what? Maybe they're doing this intentionally to make Selfie series look a little bit better. Sorry if anybody from Hasbro is watching this, but you definitely missed the mark on both products, this and that. So, that being said, I mean, the sculpting on the head, the hair, and everything is very well done. I will give it that. We're just really not doing that great with the overall appearance, and I've definitely seen a lot better paint work around eyes and things like that. It looks very cartoony. When we're not going for a cartoony look, we're basing this off of a live action movie, so kind of missing the mark there on that, unfortunately. And I mean, articulation, let's take a look at it. The head, you know, side to side, not bad. Up and down, decent, but it does have a good exorcist rotation going on there. The neck is not moving separate from the torso. The shoulder does have pretty good rotation movement. It doesn't look like we've got a butterfly joint in there. We have no bicep tricep, but we do have elbow rotation, and we have a single elbow, and then the wrist goes very far up in there. Look at that. That is very odd. I'm not exactly sure why this decision was made for this wrist and this hand. It definitely takes away from it. You know, maybe it's something that they felt was necessary to hold the helmet or what have you, but this one definitely has a little bit smaller joint, but it still seems larger than others in other figure lines, even from Hasbro. And then the paint work on it, not so great, right? You can see the brown, not very cleanly applied and things like that. We do have waist rotation, not really anything mid-torso. The waist does move backwards. Gosh, it almost acts like it seems like it's an O-ring in there, but it's not. It does easily create that gap by separation if you just kind of move it and rotate it around. Leg articulation, pretty good for having this tunic cloak thing or whatever you would call that coming down. It's not a cloak, coming down, but if you pull on it too hard, the upper thigh rotation points can kind of pull outwards. But I mean, that's not bad considering what we've got going on right there. We do have a double knee, which is nice for flexibility, but it creates a massive flat spot right there. These double knees are a delicate thing because it just becomes this very odd looking, unnatural looking leg. It'd be great if they could come up with something to kind of round it out a little bit. So we do have almost ankle rotation, we'll say lower calf rotation at the top of the boot. And we do have forward, backward a little bit with the foot. It was just a little stiff, you know, but not too bad, not too bad. And then we do have ankle breaker capability, and that is the same on both sides. And then we have this pouch, it is a satchel. Indiana Jones carried one. Not quite like this one. It didn't have the face on it, but he definitely did carry one. I like the paintwork on this. It's very neat. Whether it was intended to be not completely opaque, I do like that it's more subtle, looks a little bit worn and aged. The rest of it, you know, not terrible. This cape, though, definitely leaves something to be desired. It is flexible, but it is a pretty solid brick of plastic, and it's got this peg that pokes into the back, and it's just not really anything amazing to write home about. As is the entire figure. I mean, the paintwork in some places is decent. At least we got the buckles, we got the little recesses in this golden piece here, so I do appreciate that, and some highlights here and there. But this figure, I wouldn't call this one a keeper, and I wouldn't call this one that I would recommend. I would give this maybe a 3 or 4 out of a 10. But let's at least see how the helmet wears on it, and it's not the best, right? I'm gonna go ahead and put the scepter in the hand just to get the full effect. I'll get the elbow to remove. Okay, so the helmet does create a very massive cranium type effect, and I do have a massive focus issue. So there we go. We'll do that. But see, it's to be expected when you have a sculpted helmet that goes on the head and doesn't replace the head. And there's pretty tall hair on here that the helmet does not have the ability to press down like it normally would in real life. So you get a very large cranial area right there. So does not change my rating or opinion on this one. This one I would struggle to recommend to someone. All right, let's see what else we have. And next up we have Forge, and here he is with his little crossbow that was loose, and then one pouch of an additional accessory. Now this one I noticed is not sealed, so the piece will just come out, and it looks like we have a bit of a chalice going on here. Or it was Forge in the library with the candlestick. You know, you choose. But let's take a look at these accessories real quick before we dive into Forge himself. Now, in just looking at these, flat out not impressed, right? Just looking at this, the crossbow, first and foremost, there is no string, which if you're going to do a bow, have a string. I've faulted other figures for that, and I feel like that's a necessity. It's just something that takes away, makes it look a lot cheaper. The arrow or the bolt is attached to it as a part of the sculpt. Would have been nice to have like maybe just one loose, nice little additional accessory. There is a kind of like a wood grain sculpted into the plastic, but it's just like one swoop. There is a little bit to it. It would have been nice to see some of the detail brought out with like a dry brush as usual, and the silver painted over this flexible brown plastic. Not a very good job on that as well. So really not amazed by the quality of that so far. And then taking a look at the chalice as well. The sculpting on it is really great. I like the details all around it. It is cast in that kind of a bronze plastic, nothing else done to it. Would have been nice to maybe see like some gold paint to bring out some of these details that they took the time to sculpt into it, but not the time to make it show. And in looking at Forge, there is a gold paint that was used, so they certainly had it available. They just chose not to use it. But then looking at Forge, this is yet another one that does not have the very good facial likeness, right? So that facial printing that we're used to kind of missed the mark here. Yet again, it is the Hasbro selfie series of figures going on here. But you know, I can go on and on about it. But let's check out the flexibility. So side to side, a lot better. You know, pretty good. Up and down, pretty good. Full rotation. Shoulders, we've got decent rotation on it. No butterfly joint or anything like that. Bicep, tricep. We do have a double elbow, which helps with some flexibility there. You know, I'm seeing inconsistencies in the design here. Not in all of them, but in some. And then we've got wrist rotation with, looks like an up and down on that one. And then same thing over on this side with some rings on this hand. We do have the rotation with the up and down as well. We have waist movement rotation. It's on that kind of double barbell, whatever you want to call it, dumbbell joint. Easy to create a gap there, and just the movement it's not the best. We have a hidden accessory in here, a hidden little dagger in that sheath. So kind of neat to see that. A nice, yet again, you know, a nice little surprise there with the silver paint. It almost seems like there's a little brown shining through. The gold on this belt buckle was really well done. The flexibility of the legs, not bad once you move this this coat out of the way. Very tall waist area here. We have upper thigh rotation. We have a double knee. Yet again, this actually looks like it's just reuse, maybe, or at least the legs. And this area could be reuse of the other male in here, Edgin, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But there we go. The boots do look a little bit different because the cuff is slightly different. It goes out. And then we have the rotation up here at the top. So very interesting there. And then the foot does a good forward backwards. And then we've got the ankle breaker going on there. So, you know, not too shabby as far as flexibility of the legs and all that. But the figure itself, you know, the paintwork, not bad, especially with this coat. I like what's going on here. It's kind of a glossy finish, and then it's got the kind of goldish or bronze highlights to all of the design in here. Kind of, I don't know what to call it, paisley type stuff, but not quite. There is a little bit of odd irregularities going on there, but hopefully that's just on mine. We can see some of the sleeves showing through. Paintwork is not bad on this one, even on this little emblem amulet thing that he's got here. The green jewel in the middle, and then the 4 green ones on the edges. A little bit of green traveled up to his neck, so he had an issue there. No highlights to the hair, the rings on the hand that we saw before. So not a lot of areas for paint. I appreciate the inside of this being that gold, with I'm assuming it being cast in that plastic, but it's pretty neat. You know, it's like a liner of a color, so cool for that. But yet again, I mean, not really an amazing or impressive figure. So far, I would say, in looking at all these, mildly disappointed at this line. I feel like they should have really nailed it if you're going to dive into the realm of live action Dungeons and Dragons, but what do I know? All right, let's move on. And here we have our Edgin figure, however we pronounce it. So there he is. Stood a little bit better than I've seen so far. Let's check out the accessories that he comes with. It's another tear open bag. So let's see what we've got in here. We have this. Looks like a lute, a guitar of some sort. Okay, so we've got that. And then we have whatever this thing is. I do look forward to learning more about this, and forgive my ignorance if I should know what it is. But let's take a closer look at it. It's all right. It's a cast green plastic item, and it looks like it's probably something that's going to be a key in this movie. So I look forward to learning more about it. But it is just cast in that green plastic, nothing special. No paint highlights or anything like that. And as I learn more about it, I'm sure I'll probably appreciate it more. But let's take a look at I can only refer to it as a lute. But I do appreciate the detail of this, just looking at it on the back, the scale work that it has, and the piece of what looks like just kind of beaten metal on it with a little bit of a shape to it. Almost looks like it's a part of someone's former armor. So I like that, and how it looks like it's patched together. But then when we flip it over to the front, you can see that it was cast out of this orange plastic, and not really a lot done with the, what would we call it, filigree on the front, the decoration. There is a little bit here with a little bit of silver for some of the metal pieces, the rivets, what have you. But I feel like this this design here could have had something as a silver or a gold to help make it pop. And I appreciate the carrying case. It does look nice. Looks very much like a basket, a little gold bit right there. So, you know, it's nice. I'll give it that. And then we've got a two-tone thing going on here where it's gray and then fades into brown. So kind of curious about that and the logic behind it, because it's not really a spot where it would transition. It just kind of does it. So anyway, let's move forward. Let's talk about the figure himself. Okay, so here is our guy. Still don't know how to pronounce the name. Still can't necessarily say that this is a very good likeness of the actor that it is representing, right? This one, I definitely know it is Chris Pine. But even knowing that, it's hard to say, yes, this is a good representation of Chris Pine. This is a Hasbro Selfie Series representation of Chris Pine. So very similar head movement that we've seen, full rotation. Same thing with the shoulders, good rotation there. We do have a bicep tricep on this one. We have a double elbow here for this. So the inconsistency in the articulation is a bit of a bother when you're dealing with the same line and you have inconsistent articulation. That never makes sense to me, especially when you're not dealing with huge size differences or body type differences. But both arms have the same thing, and we have the forward backward on the hands. We have kind of a mid-waist rotation thing going here with that same double ball joint in there that can create that separation. But, you know, good for rotation. The jacket doesn't really get in the way. We do have a little dagger, a little knife hidden right there. How about that? A preloaded removable accessory. What a nice surprise to find. And then the flexibility of the legs, not too bad. The jacket certainly doesn't get in the way. That's just typical binding of the flexibility of the legs. Upper thigh rotation, pretty good. We have a double knee here, so always happy to see that for flexibility. And then once it actually does flex, I will say that this double knee is slightly better than some of the other ones that we've seen because we have a little bit of a bulge here like a knee or a kneecap would have, and including the flexibility, and it still matches pretty well with the wrinkle of the pants. And we have a boot rotation right here at the bottom of the boot cuff, so very interesting choice. Typically we see it at the very top, but here we go. The foot forward and backwards, not bad. And then we have ankle breaker capability. And of course, same functionality across to the other side with the other leg. And yeah, so paint apps, not terrible. There's not a whole lot of opportunities for them, right? A lot of it is cast in the color of plastic that it needs to be. The face, you know, it's like I said, it's a very Hasbro plain selfie series. It is not the photo reel that I have seen many times with a lot of figures. This does not look very much like Chris Pine. There's not really even a lot of definition in the hair there. The stubble was well done. I will give it that. I mean, that's some properly done stubble right there. The buckles down the jacket, I like these, the brown with a little bit of silver and the gold, just to kind of highlight the pieces of it. That was well done. On the belt, we've got the reddish brown on top of the cast darker ashy kind of brown, and then the green of the dagger handle with the silver of the blade, although it almost looks like there's a little bit of a green hue shining through, but you know, I'm not going to fault it. It was a nice little hidden accessory in there. And then the pants are cast in that color, and then the boots are this darker greenish gray, similar to the jacket. Almost seems like a little bit darker though, and then that reddish brown makes another appearance, just a little bit darker yet again here, and then along the sides of the boots. So no paint on the buckles or the rivets, but all in all, fairly clean, but not a very clean representation of the intended subject, is what I'll say. So this one is not one that I can necessarily rate very highly, but I would rate it a little bit higher. This one maybe a 5 or a 6, maybe. And hey, I might not be being very generous, but I'm being honest with what I can say as far as these figures and how they are done based on a lot of the other things that I've seen from Hasbro. Okay, moving on. And here we have Holga. Now, even if this one does not quite look like the actual actress, Michelle Rodriguez, at least it is a very cool looking figure. So let's see what we have here accessory-wise before we dive into... Oh, she's even got some pretty cool accessories, right? So we've got a bit of a staff type thing that really kind of looks like it should plug into something right there. So interesting. I'm curious about that. And then we have... so I guess it maybe is going to serve as like a longer... I don't want to pull on that too much, but anyway, so here's this kind of staff piece that we have. So let's shift to manual so we can get our focus to work with it. So there we go. Not too bad, right? So cast out of some gray plastic. I'm very curious about this peg on the end. I like the sculpting of the handle in there. There's a little bit of silver highlight to it right here and then on the very end, but you know, nothing really amazing. Almost looks like kind of stone-ish type, more solid pieces down here. So very cool sculpting, but not a lot of effort to make stuff pop. This is very smooth, like it's supposed to be metal or something, but it is just that standard gray that the plastic is molded out of. And then here we have a good old axe with a nice solid bit on the back. This one is a little bit better, right? It is cast out of that same gray plastic, same kind of handle work, and then that same bit right there. So very, very similar. I'm assuming this must be able to pop out because these are identical, and I'm guessing this slides out in the movie, kind of like the Scorpion King, right? So the Scepter of Osiris, I think is what it was. That'll pop out, I'm assuming, and that is to give that ability. I'm just not going to pull on it too hard. I don't want anything to break without applying some heat to it. So same idea right there. And then this, though the head of the axe is actually very impressive. Actually very impressive. Because it's got the dark gray, but I appreciate the bronzish, goldish color that's painted on here. And it is painted on very well. This one already looks like it's had a little bit extra care and attention beyond what some of the other figures have had. And I'm assuming this is to peg into the back of the figure so that she's carrying the axe with her. And let's look at the figure itself. So we'll shift to standard. And yeah, it does not at all look like Michelle Rodriguez, but it is a very cool looking figure just from presentation. This would be the one that I would say offhand is the best one of the 4 so far, or that I would say, yeah. Anyway, so just looking at it, facial likeness not there. Yet again, selfie series, or like the bubbly, or the sparkling water, the flavor. These are the idea that those flavors have. So there we go. That's my likeness to how I would say these visuals look to it. So side to side, not terrible considering the hair and how that can be a hindrance. Forward and backwards. Backwards or up, not at all. Down is pretty good, right? So it can look down very well. The hair does kind of push it back up a little bit. We do have full exorcist rotation capability because we're dealing with that same neck joint idea that the other ones have had. Elbow or shoulder rotation, not bad, but these shoulder pads do kind of create a hindrance. The printing of these tattoos on here is magnificent. I think that's very, very well done, very clean. No real issues showing right there. It looks like there's a brand. Can you see that sculpted into the arm? So it looks like she has some sort of a brand there. Single elbow, so again, inconsistencies in the articulation. Very disappointing on that. And then the hand looks like it's an up and down, and then the elbow rotation. Same thing on the other side, and this hand also seems to have, yeah, the up and down joint. We have mid torso and waist rotation, and decent movement. So again, inconsistent articulation that we see from basically one figure to the next. The guys were very similar. The older guys, the smaller one, had its own articulation, and this again has its own. But we do have yet another dagger, and this one is even very impressive. Look at the detail on it. It looks like it's a piece of stone with a golden handle. I think they did a great job on that one. So this figure is the standout of the bunch. This would be the one that I could recommend. Other flexibility and articulation, all the same. Upper thigh, we've got double knee. We do not have a calf or boot rotation, and very minimal movement on the foot because of these wrappings, but it also does protect that ankle from a break. So, she's set. She's ready for battle. Paint apps, not terrible. I appreciate the tattoos they were printed on. Looks like a little bit of a highlight in the hair right there. A little bit of highlight in the hair right there. This chest piece looks very well painted. I like the metallic look to it, kind of a darker metal, and then we've got the copper-ish color buckles there. All the little details I do appreciate on this one. I think it's all very well done, especially compared to the other ones. Is it up to par of, like, say, some of Hasbro's other lines? No. I would put it maybe in some of the Black Series, honestly. Some of Star Wars Black Series, and this could almost pass as a character from maybe another planet or something like that. But yeah, and the paint down here on the fur, the boots with the fur, looks pretty good. It matches what's going on up here with these side pieces, the kind of an armor that protects her. So all in all, this one is aside from the poor articulation that could have been executed way better with the arms, this is definitely the best figure of the 4. I can easily say that. And then, of course, the axe looks like it just sticks right in there. So she's carrying it at all times. And then I mean, it would just go, since this is basically just another handle for it, we can see the hand is definitely sculpted for this to just slide right up into it, because it's a very flat sculpt in that grip. And then, yeah, she'll just grab onto it and hold onto it, and that is either hand. So there we go. Well, that about brings us to the end of this adventurous episode. Thank you for taking the time to join this campaign with us. If we ever do a review of something you are trying to find for yourself, please follow and DM us on Instagram at JKCollectsToys so we can help with the search if we don't already have a way of getting one. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know and let YouTube know by subscribing and clicking that like button. The more that happens, the more YouTube can recommend us, so we can hopefully reach even more collectors and help them find the things that they need. And if you'd like to see some more videos, we have some links on your screen right now for you to check out. But remember, Collecting or not, we are all in this world together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.